Donald Trump wants you to think that the Epstein files have been released. And I'm fully serious here. He wants you to believe that just because he told MAGA to vote for the release yesterday, that means he's for transparency and he's been transparent, and we should all just move on. But the opposite is the case. Donald Trump now, more than ever, is working tirelessly to block the release of these files alongside PAM Bondi. It has never been more important to talk about Epstein, because as Trump pretends that he is for transparency, we know what's happening behind the scenes. And PAM Bondi just admitted it. Admitted that they're going to be covering up these files, and then ran away from her press conference with Kash Patel and Todd Blanche. We're going to get into it all. But first, if you could leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already, it really helps support our work. Now, before we get into this press conference and Bondi and her stooges running away, I want to start with what Jasmine Crockett said about the Attorney General, because it's spot on, and the reason why we all need to pay more attention than ever. Here's what she said.
Whether or not we get what we need from the Department of Justice is a whole other issue. Pam Bondi does not work for the American people. She has made it clear that she has one boss, and that is Donald Trump. And so we know that there is an outstanding subpoena to the Department of Justice from the Oversight Committee, and they have failed to properly comply with that subpoena in the first place. The only reason that we're even getting information right now is because of the Epstein estate. They have been the only ones that have actually released information in compliance with the outstanding subpoena that we have. So there's a lot more that they could have done. I think the fact that the president has switched his tone signals to everyone that they basically are going to say, well, now there's an active investigation, and so therefore legally we can't release anything else.
Look, Pam Bondi works for Donald Trump. She does not work for us. Todd Blanche literally works for Donald Trump. That is his personal attorney, and he's continuing on in that capacity. I don't care if he is the Deputy Attorney General. He obviously works for Trump. Kash Patel has spent the past 5 years writing children's books about Donald Trump. Do you think any of these people will do anything if Trump doesn't want them to? No. And they all had the power to release these files. And they're all now working overtime to release just enough to share a little here and a little there and pretend like this investigation is done and we should all move on. But that will never be the case. We must always keep pushing for a greater release, especially when Pam Bondi is just speaking vaguely like this. Take a look.
The next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files. Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Yeah. When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Follow the law. This is the most lawless administration in history. You don't even follow the law when Congress appropriates funds. You want us to believe that you're going to follow the law when they tell you to release the Epstein files. Information that is the most damaging documents, emails, photos, videos in the history of the presidency. Of course not. Nobody believes that. Nobody thinks that's going to happen, especially when you've launched an investigation as a tool to prevent more information from coming out. And Bondi admitted to it. Check this out.
The issue with the new information that you just indicated, is the department seeking information perhaps from the Epstein estate because Mr. Blanche did not have that information when he interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell? What new information, and would you limit the new investigation to just those named persons that the president talked about, or is this a broad, open-ended investigation?
I would refer to the Deputy Attorney General's post that he put out on X, and we're not going to say anything else on that because now it is a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York. But you're on point.
We know what they're doing. We see their game clearly. It's obvious that they're doing everything they can. They're putting every roadblock in place to try to block the release of the Epstein files. And they're terrified of being asked questions about it, because every time Pam Bondi is asked a question about the Epstein files, she essentially admits to the cover-up, or she sends one of her stooges out there as a meat shield to get in the way, which is what she did with Todd Blanche, who addressed the bill that was passed last night in the House and the Senate to force the release of the files. And what did he have to say about it? Well, he gave away the whole game, and then Pam Bondi and the whole gang ran away. Listen to this.
The law has carve-outs to protect victims and to protect information surrounding victims, which is what we do not only in this case but in every case. So it's a fair question, but neither the House nor the Senate's version, the same version, suggested otherwise. So,
Thank you all.
They're terrified. And I didn't play every clip of that press conference because I didn't need to. Every time Pam Bondi was asked a question, guess what she said? We will follow the law. Follow the law. Well, here's the thing. What Pam Bondi isn't telling you is in that law about the release of the Epstein files, there's a line about threats to national security. And of course, we can understand that the agencies that were responsible for collecting this information, certain witnesses that need to be protected, we don't want to put those people in harm's way. But Mike Johnson has already said that he doesn't want information about the Epstein files to be released that could potentially be harmful to people's reputations because that's a matter of national security. But he wasn't saying it as it relates to maybe an FBI informant. He was saying it as someone who, in his words, had dinner with Jeffrey Epstein, knew him, was a friend of his, but didn't know the extent of his crimes. That he doesn't want to out those people or hurt their reputations without enough context. Well, the context is the files. The files show everything. If you want the context, release the files. But they're already plotting the little words they're going to use to justify their actions, the semantics of it all, to prevent a full release. I'm telling you, it has never ever been more important to talk about Epstein than right now. This next 30 days in which Pam Bondi is going to try to block the release of these files in every which way possible will be the time in which we need to talk about Epstein the most, where we need to push for the most transparency, because Donald Trump and the Republican Party are attempting to rewrite history right now. They're telling you that the vote yesterday only happened because of them. That's not true. Republicans yesterday did not vote for the release of these files because Donald Trump told them to. It's because he couldn't tell them not to. Donald Trump is furious with Mike Johnson right now for, in his words, getting outmaneuvered by Democrats. But it is Mike Johnson who gets his power from Trump. He's simply his puppet. So if Mike Johnson got played, Trump got played. He has never been weaker, and his stooges understand that. And Pam Bondi is terrified. We have to push further. We have to keep asking questions. We have to demand transparency, real transparency, because they will not give it to us. It's obvious what's happening right now, and we have to be on it. And it's what Chris Hayes said, I think in the perfect description of the rewriting of history that's going on that we cannot allow to happen.
I mean, really, for the first time in recent memory, he was simply unable to bully and browbeat and cow congressional Republicans into just doing what he wants. But boy, did he try. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson kept the House adjourned for nearly 2 months. In part, we think, so he could avoid swearing in Democratic Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva, who would be the final deciding vote on that discharge petition. When that plan failed, Trump personally called Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado, one of 4 Republicans on the petition, to try to pressure her to vote no on the discharge petition, to take her name off. When that didn't work, Boebert was summoned to the Situation Room with the head of DOJ and FBI for a kind of bad cop routine, where they again tried to pressure her to take her name off of a petition that she had already signed. That failed as well. Republicans staged an open revolt and Trump backed down. They had to kind of knock the king over. Checkmate. Get up from the table. And that in turn led to some very funny about faces. For instance, on Friday, Republican Congressman Troy Nehls of Texas posted, quote, "I'll be voting no on the Epstein hoax, and I'm not going to let this hoax manufactured by Democrats slow us down." But then Trump tried to pretend like he was fine with the vote, actually, after realizing that he was going to lose it, and said, OK, you guys all vote for it, sure. So then Nehls had to twist himself into knots to explain why he was now voting yes on what he called a hoax just a couple of days ago.
That's a good question. No, I don't regret the post.
Well, you said you're no, then you're yes.
I don't regret the post.
Regrets aside, the bill will become law. As many folks have pointed out, however, the legislation is entirely unnecessary in the first place.
Let's be crystal clear. Trump has the power to release the files today. He does not even need a vote. And he continues to defy the subpoena of the Oversight Committee to release all the files. What is Donald Trump hiding?
What is Donald Trump hiding is a question that he gets a lot recently, and he usually doesn't take it well.
If there's nothing incriminating in the file, sir, why not raising as
Mr. President, why wait for Congress to release the Epstein files? Why not just do it now?
You know, it's not the question that I mind, it's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question.
Two female reporters asking obviously totally newsworthy questions about an issue of the day. One gets called piggy. The other gets called insubordinate because she didn't, bow and scrape to the Saudi king. The Epstein Files Transparency Act now heads to Donald Trump's desk. It's unclear if he'll, ditch out from the Saudi Crown Prince dinner to sign it tonight. It is clear Donald Trump still does not want to release the files. I think he's hoping that by caving on this vote and pretending to declare victory and say, oh, let's move on to everything else, he can just sort of reduce the pressure, get everyone to forget about Epstein. That, I gotta say, seems like a dubious strategy considering how poor his instincts have been so far.
We have to make incredibly clear what's taking place right now. And that is MAGA trying to get us all to move on and say that they've always supported this transparency. So why do you keep asking questions? Don't ask any more questions. Trump literally posted he's too busy running the country as he falls asleep in the Oval Office and golfs every other day, so he can't be bothered with Epstein. That's not true. We know the truth. It is that this is the biggest scandal in presidential history, and we need to know the truth, and we're going to demand it on this show. We're going to talk about it on this show. We're going to bring you the truth every single day on this show. But if you want to support that, and if you want to stay up to date, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep fighting. Don't let them silence you.